Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Friday, May 16th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7 in Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From Columbus, Ohio, Robb Dunewood.
From Oakland, California, I'm Molly Wood.
Drawn to top tech stories in the CLE, I'm Len Peralta.
And I'm north of the wall. I'm Amos, and I'm producing the show.
Oh, man, we are all over the North American continent. DTNS Live is made possible by you. Thanks to all of you, wherever you are. Carmine Bailey, Chris Beneteau, Jeffrey Zilks, and David Jakim.
Yes, welcome everyone to DTNS Live. We have a packed show. We got a full panel here today. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand everything a little bit better as we do it together. Molly Wood, it's so nice to have you on the show. How are you?
I know. What's up? I'm hatless today, and I just feel like I've let you all down. But the news is
Hats
serious.
are encouraged, not mandatory.
I mean, I had a whole plan, and then I scampered out of the down. I'm locked out of my downstairs. I mean, not on purpose. I'm not. No.
Your hat is locked
I can
away.
get it, but my hat is stuck down there, and I am up
Free
here.
the hat.
Someone send a hat to Molly immediately.
But the news is
locked
serious.
your hat downstairs?
What
is happening?
You know that the news is serious though when you have a panel of this size. This means there is major things to discuss.
Clinton Woodward in chat has noticed that the top row is all hats and the bottom row is all no hats.
Oh, look at
Did you
that.
do that on purpose?
We did it on
on
purpose.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to play teams in the quiz later. Hat versus
Wait, I
no
have a
hat.
hood.
Hats
Look,
versus
if I do this,
hats versus
I'm
scalp.
waving the Tom up
Oh,
there.
yeah. If you do the hood, then I can play on both teams. 'cause I gotta-
I can't do the hood though because my
Molly.
headphone
Hi,
things go
Len.
back here.
Well, we actually are going to talk about tech news. So let's start out with the quick hits.
We got some ISP consolidation going on in the United States of America. Charter Communications has agreed to acquire Cox Communications. That would combine the top two of the top three cable companies in the United States. Two of the top three. I think Comcast is number one. Cox operates the largest private broadband company in the U.S., including commercial fiber and managed IT and cloud. It intends to continue offering services under its Spectrum brand, lest you were worried somehow. Also, the US FCC has approved Verizon's $20 billion acquisition of Frontier Communications. Verizon says it plans to expand fiber infrastructure across 25 states with a goal to connect more than 1 million homes every year.
Well, I hope they bring it to my neighborhood.
That'd be great. Me
It
too.
really would.
So just when you thought that Epic Games and Apple were done going through it, they're still going through it. Epic Games says Apple has not approved its app submission of Fortnite to the U.S. App Store, which it made from the Epic EU developer account. Apple says it has asked Epic to resubmit it without reference to the U.S. App Store. And Epic has stopped its app from working on iOS anywhere, including from third-party app stores in Europe. Kind of weird that you would stop it from working, but they said we're really upset about this.
Man, these two companies, they just...
No, you are. No,
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
I feel like Apple just trying to make it worse for themselves at this point. Just how bad can we make it?
The Financial Times reports that Nvidia has discussed building a research center in Shanghai. However, a spokesperson from Nvidia told CNBC, "We are not sending any GPU designs to China to be modified to comply with export controls." A source told CNBC that the company has leased space for current employees as a continuation of Nvidia's existing presence in China.
OpenAI launched Codex, an AI coding agent embedded in ChatGPT, optimized for software engineering tasks using its Codex 1 model to write features, fix bugs, and run tests in a secure cloud environment, with rollout starting for pro, enterprise, and teen users. OpenAI plans to monetize usage with rate limits and paid credits.
The Verge reports Microsoft has ended production of the Surface Laptop Studio 2 and has no plans for a third model, effectively discontinuing the series because we got to pull one out for the Studio 2. The company has been focusing on the Surface Pro and Surface Laptop while phasing out less popular products like the Surface Duo, headphones, and Studio 2.
At Computex 2025, Acer unveiled the Swift Edge 14 AI, a lightweight laptop with Intel's Lunar Lake chips, a 2880 by 1800 OLED display, and up to 2 gigs of RAM, all under 2.2 pounds. So it's very MacBook Air-like, if you're doing a comparison. On the gaming side, Acer launched the Predator Triton 14 AI, 14.5-inch laptop with up to be able to hold an RTX 5070 GPU, stylus-ready haptic trackpad, going for 2,999 euros. Acer also introduced the updated Aspire, Swift Go, and Predator Helios models, as well as new OLED monitors and some portable displays. Well, this is going to shock everybody, so I hope you're all sitting down. Meta has a fraud issue. I know. This is tough.
Why didn't someone tell us?
Well, according to regulators, banks, and internal documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, it's true. And when I say Meta, I mean the Meta family of apps, right? You got Instagram, you got WhatsApp, you got Facebook Marketplace. The Journal sources say that Meta accounted for almost half of all reported scams on Zelle for JP Morgan Chase, big bank, between the summers of 2023 and 2024. Other banks that offer Zelle have also reportedly experienced similar high fraud claims originating on Meta. British and Australian regulators have found similar levels of fraud originating on Meta's platforms. There's kind of a trend going on here. With an internal analysis that the Wall Street Journal saw from 2022, finding that 70% of newly active advertisers on the platform, and again, this is across all of the platform's apps, promoting scams, illicit goods, or low quality products. Now, I think we've all, I don't know how much the rest of you use Instagram, but on a daily basis, I'll get this is the best sweater I've ever owned, back in stock. It's the same thing over and over. Now, I'm not saying that sweater won't arrive to me. Maybe it's a great sweater, maybe it isn't, but there's so much of the scammy stuff. AI slop, I guess, but more specifically just I'm going to send you money and I'm not going to get the thing that I thought I was getting.
Yeah, and the article also talking about them imitating legitimate businesses and getting those legitimate businesses in trouble, with their customers who think it's them, but it's not. It's a scammer pretending to be them.
Exactly. There was actually an example of a home improvement business. Maybe you need a toolkit. You're going to do some DIY stuff, whatever. This is like a mom and pop business. Says it doesn't even sell things online. A recent search of Meta's ad library showed that more than 4,400 different ads listing the address of that business have run on Meta's platforms over the past year. The actual business accounted for 15.
Wow.
Yeah. And this poor the guy that they interviewed was like, I feel terrible, but I don't know who these people are. They're just pulling photos and scamming people.
Yeah. Imagine if they had devoted a tenth of the energy that they did to pretending to combat misinformation, which is even poorly defined, to actually going after fraud, which is very well defined and identifiable. This is the problem with managing by public relations instead of managing for product quality.
Well, it also should not astonish anyone to know that it appears that Meta is in fact totally aware of this and they don't stop it because they're making money, right? This is the most Meta. Just replace any noun, replace fraud with any noun, right? A bad thing that occurs on Meta, and you will discover that in fact Meta was on some level aware of it and they didn't do anything about it because they make a ton of money.
It's you look at some quarterly earnings report, it's wow, Meta's ad business is booming. Yep. Well, why is it booming? It's booming for great reasons sometimes, but also because of stuff like this.
Hold on. But the marketplace will fix this, because if people think that the marketplace on Facebook is full of fraud, they'll go to the competitor.
Sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
So here's the two things.
Way to nail it.
One of the issues here is that it makes sense that Facebook, or I shouldn't say Facebook, it makes sense that Meta would have the most fraud because they're the biggest. They've got the most people using it, and therefore probably have the least sophisticated people using it because so many are on that platform. But Meta knows this. It's let's never let ethics get in the way of us making money and going out and getting these easily identifiable frauds and scams that are on our platform. So that's a problem too. But I just tell folks all the time, you've got to double check and triple check and quadruple check to make sure that who you think you're doing business with, you are actually doing business with, because clearly Meta is not out to save you on this.
Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this because Mark Zuckerberg is amoral at best and most likely immoral. But we either have Section 230 or we don't. Like, Meta should invest in making a strategy by which this home improvement business owner can report that he is being impersonated online, and then Meta should fix that. But Meta is, in fact, just like you said, Rob, the biggest conduit to the biggest number of people. And of course, that is going to attract scams. Frankly, like the ideal equal and opposite reaction to all of this fraud and scam existing on Facebook and Instagram and all of their platforms is like, awesome, cool. Everybody just stop using it because it's bad. It is a place to get lied to and robbed. It's not a neighborhood you should hang out in.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think we probably all have, the friend or a family member, who has a Facebook profile, and you see out of the blue, like, I've been hacked. If someone asks you to be my friend, it's not me. And it's just sort of like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
My mom did that recently, and she's pretty tech savvy. I was like, you haven't been hacked, Mom. Someone's just impersonating you because they want someone's money somehow. Mm-hmm. They're going to pretend to be you and then say, like, I need money. And then that your cousin's going to give them money.
The Economist did a really good series recently on the providers of this fraud and the booming industry where they capture people basically and force them to work in compounds in parts of the world to perpetrate these scams. And the person who did the most shocking and the most unsettling part of the series was when the person who did the reporting said, the closer I looked at this stuff and the more examples I saw, the less confident she was that she could get by without being scammed. She's like, the scams are so well funded, so well executed, and so well refined that it's impossible. She's like, it is hubris for anyone to say, well, I won't get scammed. It's just a matter of time before you run into the one that is designed in a way that will get you. And there needs to be a multinational effort to crack down on this stuff.
That's exactly it. And that's why I say, like, as much as it kills me, this is not even a problem that Meta can solve other than not existing as the biggest, juiciest target on the planet.
Yeah. It can help solve it. It could help. Lead the way solving it if it wants to. But
it's still going to happen because you are going to, in a world of predators and prey, all the prey live on Meta platforms.
In an anecdotal bit of evidence, none of my kids have Facebook anymore, if they ever did, because of stories like this.
Yeah.
It's two of my children never got Facebook. They do like never going to happen, but they have Instagram accounts. But all the others have either deleted their Facebook account or done whatever they can to lock it down, and they never use it anymore because of things like this. Mm-hmm. So,
and I would imagine that a lot of this is actually happening on Instagram because that's where a lot of folks are that may not necessarily be as savvy as folks who are using, some other platforms that have a rounding error of the number of people. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet and 4 billion of them are on Meta platforms. So it's just because it's so big, it's going to be the biggest target. People are definitely going to scam there. But Meta, you could do better. You could help us out if you chose to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like we all get email spam, all day, every day. This is just, hopefully it gets filtered out, but you still get that one email where I look at it and I go, that's spam. But it gets me for a second. I have to think about it.
Yeah.
And something like that is, we haven't figured that out in however many years. So I don't know exactly what Meta does except to be, it's kind of like the bot problem that all platforms have. Some years ago it was like, everything on Twitter is a bot. Why don't they just kill all the bots? Well, then it seems like there are a lot fewer people using Twitter. And then
ironically,
the company has to be like, yeah, actually, a lot of this is just a big farce.
Ironically, it is Meta's own death spiral, right? It's the death spiral of Facebook, which still is, because of all the reasons that it kind of hobbled Instagram over the years. Facebook still remained the primary product. It is the death spiral of Facebook itself that makes Meta so desperate to make its quarterly earnings look good that they can't afford to put the resources toward cracking down on this fraud that they maybe otherwise would, although let's be honest, they wouldn't because they're a monopoly.
A mid-2022 analysis found that if they reprioritized fraud above things like promoting anti-suicide, self-harm, human trafficking, things that are important, but if they reprioritized anti-spam and fraud, it would drop likely scams by 46%.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm not saying like they shouldn't also be doing those other things, but it's a matter of prioritization. They can cut this down by quite a bit. They're not.
Yep. But scams are paid ads. They're paid ads.
And
they're not going to do it.
It's a combination of like, well, if we cut down the scams, we will reduce our revenue by a small amount, probably not a large amount, right? Because they get the real money from the real advertisers, but it would reduce it by a small amount. And they don't get the PR hit. They don't get the win in the press that they are fighting the popular thing of the day until fraud becomes the popular thing of the day, which is what I'm hoping this conversation and others like it might eventually lead to.
Absolutely.
All right, Rob, you watched the latest Android show. This is ahead of I.O. next week. So tell us what caught your eye.
So yeah, I always watch the Android show. These things come out quarterly, and they just tell you what's coming in Android. And usually it's like, okay, this is going to be some new thing on a new phone that I don't have, so I kind of lightly pay attention to them. But in this particular one, the things that stood out to me were Gemini Live. Now, I've got an Android device. I actually have the Galaxy S25 Ultra, so I've got a device that is completely capable of running Gemini Live and all of its grandeur and glory. And it is actually pretty good. So the first thing I will do is just tell everybody that if you do have an Android device that is capable of running Gemini Live, you might want to go check it out. It probably does a lot more than you think it does. And we are really getting close. We're getting to the point to where you can start talking to your phone like you would.
Dig out information.
So one of the things that I was just playing around with is like, okay, let me try some of this. So I did Daily Tech Headlines this morning. And I do a long rundown of everything that I'm going to say on that show. So I actually opened that up in Google Drive on my phone, opened up the Gemini Live, and I just said, tell me about, like, I think it was probably the 4th, 5th, or 6th story. It was just somewhere in the middle. Just tell me about just that one story. And it and it did it. It was like, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. So then I started going into emails. It's like, summarize this really long email that I have and tell me what the key points are. And it just does it. Now, folks are saying, well, Rob, that's what LLMs have been doing since, ChatGPT 3 came out back, well over 2 years ago now. And that is true. But this is integrated into the operating system of my phone. I literally just press a button and I'm talking to a computer that is talking back to me and giving me relatively useful information. And I don't know that a lot of Android users are aware of how cool some of this stuff is. Now, I know folks are going to say, well, can't you do that with ChatGPT? Yes, you can. Can't you do that with Perplexity? Yes, you can. You can do these things with a lot of other devices, but the difference here is that it is so well integrated into your OS. You don't have to jump through a lot of hoops. It's just, if it's on my screen, Gemini can tell me about what's on my screen. If it's in front of my camera, Gemini can tell me what's in front of my camera. So I thought that was just really cool, and I just kind of want to talk about it because I get to geek out very, very seldom when I'm in a room full of Android, users, because there's never a room full of Android users at the Android conference.
No, it was fun. We were walking through this with my Pixel Fold before the show, figuring out the quirks and stuff of how it works, and it doesn't work as 100% naturally as I would want it to, because I did have to tap a button to make it pay attention to the screen. But once I did, I could just say like, "Hey, who hosts this show?" and it would know. Oh, I should look at the screen and figure it out, and it could answer it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It really is.
It's so interesting because I think Tom and I were having a conversation, or maybe a chat conversation, about, like, I was sort of saying that at this point, partly because Apple Intelligence is so bad that I haven't even enabled it. My iPhone is just it's becoming a terminal for other AI apps. You know, it's just sort of like it's the annoying middle layer now between me and Claude or me and ChatGPT. And so I take your point, and I'm intrigued by your point, Rob, that it's like this is the default app now. This is the default behavior of your phone. And I was actually looking up. I was just talking about the Noonal. I know you guys talked about the Noonal smartphone announcement, probably from Mobile World Congress. It's like this South Korean-based company that is created an AI OS, but maybe even like a phone that's just that. Like it's the Young Ladies Illustrated primer from Diamond Age. You know, it's like don't put a bunch of OS between me and my AI at this point.
You know,
Noonal, N-E-W-N-A-L. Yes.
N-E-W-N-A-L,
Okay.
yeah.
It's a blockchain thing, right?
Yeah.
I remember now.
Yeah, we're not there yet. And I will say that this is kind of like talking to a human, because you kind of have to make sure that you actually go and make sure that it was not hallucinating and giving you some information that wasn't true. So all those things need to work out. But like I said, we're still in the early days of these LLMs, and it's just going to get better. And the promise here is that it's so integrated into the OS. I don't have to jump into an application, take a picture in another application, go here, go there. It's just the fact that I just press a button and it comes up, or I can just say, hey, keyword, and it just comes up, and I just start talking and it starts talking back. In fact, you can choose the voice that you want it to respond to you in. Very cool that it can do that. So one of the other things that came out in this Android show was not just the Gemini Live, but all the things that are going to be putting Gemini in. So it's right now it's doing all this stuff on your phone and on your computer. It will eventually do this on your smartwatch. It will eventually do this on your Android TV. It will even rumoredly eventually do this on like your Pixel Buds or your Samsung Buds or your Sony earbuds that you may have, where these things can work. So the thing that Google is doing, and like I said, is it as good? I am a Google user, and I will say that Gemini is still not as good as ChatGPT, which I think is probably one of the best LLMs out there. But it's getting better every single day, and the integration, and I know I keep saying that, the integration into the operating system is what for me makes this different, because I don't have to think about it. It's just there and it's just working for me without having to do much else than hit a button.
You want me to try it? I'm going to try it. So I'm going to press the button. Who's that good-looking guy on this page? It didn't hear me. Hold on, let me try again. Ask. Who's that good-looking guy on this page? Who's the good-looking guy on this page? Just a sec. I told you to look at the screen.
So
Works like a
folks
dream.
are gonna probably think I'm lying to them.
Works like a
You're
dream.
liar on the
Tom,
wall.
how
Work
have you
on my
not?
phone, Tom. That's all I know, man.
How has Tom not learned the lesson about
I feel like
live
Gemini
demos?
is like, I mean,
I
I
have.
don't want to be rude, but like, what good looking guy? I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe that's it. Maybe it's just trying to say
it
like,
was stumped. It was like, I don't think
eye of the beholder.
I don't think so.
does not compute.
Yep. No.
Which page did you mean, by the
okay.
way?
So now when I did it on text instead of trying to do it with voice, it said, based on the image you sent, the good-looking guy appears to be Robb Dunewood.
Hey.
All right.
You mean
all
not
right.
just Dunewood?
Yeah, this time.
we Tom and I
would've
were
said
actually
that.
playing with this earlier, and whenever you asked it about me, it wouldn't say my first name, but it only mispronounced my last name, which is weird because it does it on his phone and does it on my phone. So that was kind of strange.
Yeah, here, let me play it.
Based on the image you sent, the good-looking guy appears to be Robb Dunewood.
Oh,
Of
you got the
course
whole
now.
name, though, at least. Even
Of
though
course,
it's
now it's going to have my first
wrong.
name.
Yeah. Huh.
But like I said, folks, it is.
I don't
if
know.
you- if
Some
you already have
voice
it-
stuff is still it's wonky on lots of platforms.
But I
if
want
you-
this. I am into your larger point, which is like, I don't want a bunch of stuff between me and the AI for very much longer. I want the button on my phone to go straight to the usable AI that is in fact integrated with all the data on my phone. That is terrifying, but also that's what I want.
It's what we want. There is a lot of people who use iPhones that do not have this right now. And one of the articles I was reading, I believe it was over on CNET, Apple is on the clock. We know that they don't have this stuff coming out until the end of next year, if even then. So Apple's got they've got some work to do. It needs to come out, and it needs to be a better experience than this, because Google's literally got a year and a half to make this better to get to whatever Apple's first thing that they release is.
Yeah. Yeah, because as clunky as that was, probably some of it is user error. Some of it is the fact that you have to tap a button and then remember to press the button again and all that. But that'll get easier. The longer it's out, the more they'll be like, oh, you can just press the button now and it'll figure out what you need before iOS has even launched it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, if you are a human or a chatbot, actually, if you're a chatbot, you'll probably get banned automatically. But if you're a human, join in the conversation in our Discord, which you can do by linking to a Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS.
Climate tech is a fast-growing segment. Molly, you watch the space quite well and are very deeply entrenched in it. So what is the Kickstarter angle here? What's going on with the space, and what should we be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so for the last probably 6 or 7 weeks, so for all of April on Everybody in the Pool, my podcast about climate tech solutions, I was doing stories about things that people could actually adopt. I was calling it my sort of like April Earth Month of Action. And then in the midst of that, I had this interesting conversation with Kickstarter, because the thing about climate tech solutions is that, like anything, if they are startups or they're new inventions, they need money. And that can come in the form of venture capital, that can, come in the form of like scrappy bootstrapping, but it's hard to come by. And so as part of this kind of conversation about personal action, I heard from the folks at Kickstarter that climate tech, of course, Kickstarter is for crowdfunding good ideas, and climate tech is becoming a really big category on Kickstarter. So much so, and I may have gently encouraged them in this direction in our interview, that they're thinking of creating it as a standalone category. Right now it lives in technology and design. So I talked to the head of technology and design at Kickstarter about how they cultivate and promote and encourage and help develop these ideas. And then I just turned it into a little mini series about, that conversation. And then I'm interviewing 2 of their kind of breakout companies. One of those is already live now, a company called Flash Forest, which is using drones to automate the process of tree planting. And mainly I was just like, okay, one, this is super cool because you can use Kickstarter to crowdfund a climate tech platform company. Like if you're into this, you can actually put your money there, and help support this. But also in the conversation with these guys, it's so freaking action movie. Like they developed these awesome drones, and then they were like, yeah, we were kind of just raining seeds from the sky, right? But it would be this massive failure rate and just didn't really work. And they need to like penetrate a little bit into there. And I was like, you need velocity? And they were like, we need velocity. So then they were like experimenting with designs, and then they came up with basically like a pointy little pellet. It was just, I was like, this is sick.
I loved how they kept trying to be like, well, that's a little nerdy, and you're like, no, please continue
like,
along those lines.
Keep going. Just keep going. But this is like, it's exactly the kind of thing that would end up. And so then the sneak peek, the next week I'm talking to BioLite, because what's interesting about Kickstarter is that ultimately the things that do well on Kickstarter are usually things that are hardware. That's a lot of hardware, but it's not vaporware. Like you have to have a working prototype to start a campaign on Kickstarter. And so it's sort of interesting to see what can come out of this, because venture capital in particular doesn't like to fund hardware projects. And because it's expensive, it takes a long time. You got to develop 50 different versions of the drone. And then in the case of BioLite, they started out as like a backup power energy solution for the developing world with kind of like a Tom's shoe model, and ended up building a company that does both consumer facing energy solutions for like backpackers with a Tom's model, so that they're developing technology that becomes more and more affordable for the developing world, so that there's not such a use of like dirty diesel and propane. It's just like a super interesting funding model of also just like super nerdy cool hardware.
Yeah. And like so much easier than having to go buy and have somebody install a big whole home situation. Like for somebody who's like, I want to take it a little easier here. This is cool.
Yeah, BioLite's really interesting that they're working on this. So now they have a campaign around this backup system, which I think anybody in certainly Northern California, but I think across the country, people are finding that they're more power insecure than they realized. And these kind of backup systems are getting more and more popular, but they also sell like a little stove to backpackers. And then back to Flash Forest for a second. What was interesting about the reforestation effort, so they set a goal and launched their Kickstarter project with the idea of planting 1 billion trees. Trees, of course, being like a really important carbon capture solution, right? They suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and sequester it. But also, and then wildfires burned down a lot of trees. They were inspired because it's two brothers living in Canada who, experienced wildfire crisis and were inspired to start this. But now wildfires are not only more frequent, they're significantly more severe. So like the fires in LA, wildfires in areas that have had a lot of persistent climate related drought burn so hot now. Because I was like, well, why can't you just wait for nature to, when I was growing up, we had the Yellowstone fires, and then we went and visited Yellowstone, and the new growth was there, and it was amazing, and nature like regenerates. The fires now are so hot that they effectively sterilize the land.
So you need to intervene to plant more trees?
To replant. You have to intervene. You can't wait for nature because they're almost like petrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fascinating.
The thing that was really interesting to me about your interview with Flash Forest was how they started on Kickstarter and got that Kickstarter attention and got to start the company that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And the first products weren't that great, right? Everybody's like, well, is this Kickstarter product gonna pan out? And the answer was like, well, no. But because they were able to get going, they were able to figure out like, oh, we need more velocity. We need to have this, different approach to how we wrap the seeds. We can't just rain them down with a bunch of stuff around them. And go listen to the interview for the actual details. But it was like they wouldn't have gotten to the place where they did perfect it if they hadn't had the momentum coming out of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, and it doesn't, it doesn't mean that the funding can't coexist alongside other funding. Like they have venture capital and Kickstarter funding, but it does create a longer runway for experimentation, and it gives all of us an opportunity for a personal action too. Sometimes you can just like put some money towards something that you think is really cool and should exist. It's just fun. I'm just having so much fun on this show. It's just so fun and interesting. And
it's
also
been a good couple of months of like practical stuff
darts.
Listening to you. Yeah.
So awesome. I was like, could anything die if it got hit? Just, I feel like it's important to add, nothing can die. If they're ultimately harmless. Like even if he said the drones are loud enough that it scares most critters away when they go over. And then even if something on the ground were to be hit by one of their relatively high velocity pellets, it still is a pellet full of tree seeds. Like they're not going to die from it.
Well, that's good because you wouldn't want lawn
Imagine
dart
a family
falling
of
out.
squirrels just being like, "Come on," like, that's not cool.
This is what we're doing now.
Yeah, like the tree isn't even going to be mature for years.
You're just shooting freaking pellets from the sky. Like, why? Anyway, yes, we all have a role to play, especially now, and that I think is what I've been focusing on the show for a while now.
Yeah. Well, this is great stuff. Thanks for sharing, and
Kickstarter.
everybody check out Everybody in the Pool with Molly Wood, and obviously a lot of illustrious guests as well. Okay, everybody, it is Friday, and you know what that means. We have a little fun. Today we're doing a quiz, and Amos, this is your quiz. So what do you have for us today?
Oh, jeez.
This week we discussed transformation of Cocomelon from a simple children's YouTube channel to a huge IP, clinching a deal with DreamWorks Animation for a feature film. This week's quiz will test your knowledge of children's shows both on TV and streaming. The task is simple. You'll be shown a picture of a character, and you need to name them with the clues that I provide.
I got
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
Wow. My
Lock
kids are
in.
thrown.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Thanks. The childish one over here is.
I was going to say, if I get
mention-
any of these right, I owe it all to my nieces.
At least Tom has young nieces. Yeah. Have I mentioned that my child is graduating from high school next week? So,
Really?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I'm just trying not to cry every minute of the show.
Oh, wow.
Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
I'm with you,
that's-
Molly. I got my daughter's graduating in 2. So,
Oh, Leinster hugs.
yeah.
Len has a son who's in the Superman trailer, though.
Yes.
Tom, he's the star of the movie.
He is walking
Len's
around
son
saying,
is
"I am
essentially Superman."
I am Citizen 327 or whatever he was.
Yeah, he's one of the people in the background at a minute.
Oh, he's in the
15
trailer.
into
I
the
was like,
trailer.
I don't understand
Yeah.
this joke. No, he's in the trailer.
He's
I
in
mean,
the trailer.
He's a background actor.
Oh, yeah,
you
no, I'm with
see
you,
at a
Rob.
minute
He's the
15
star.
in.
At a
As
minute
far as I'm
15,
concerned.
yeah.
Yep.
You know, to be Citizen 151 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
pretty significant.
It is.
You
We
know?
were talking at the dinner table last night. Can we, like, what can you say? Can you say, I was in this, I don't know,
You're in the movie. That's what you can say.
I'm telling everybody that I know the star of the Superman film. Like, you know,
please.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
well,
close
I
personal
was
friend
right.
of coworker of mine.
Citizen,
Here's
what?
the thing,
What number?
right? Like, because he's in the trailer, there's a good chance he makes it to the final cut.
Right.
Not always, like, you don't know, but could possibly be more of him in this movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty iconic scene there.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
sweet.
All right, back to our quiz.
All right, we're doomed.
The first question is, what number citizen is Len's son?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Nailed it.
What is the name of this popular school bus driver who made their way from a book to a PBS show and then a streaming series on Netflix, changing voice actors from Lily Tomlin to Kate McKinnon in the process?
Oh, I know. Is that Miss Frizz?
Miss Frizzle.
Miss Frizzle.
Frizzle. How did you know that?
You know,
I thought I knew it until I saw the
I mean,
picture.
he only gets
and then I
half
was
a
like-
point. He didn't get it
here's
right.
I have a long story about
Yeah, like
the
how
Magic
would you
School
know
Bus.
this? I don't. This
I-
is just not
It wasn't Lily Tomlin, by the way, was it? It was Bette Midler.
My research showed Lily Tomlin.
I think it was Bette Midler.
Did you use AI? Because it lies.
I used Roger, who wrote this quiz.
There may have
also
been a
lies.
little bit of a
Also
giant
lies, too.
hallucination going
I
on.
used the fan page as well as Wikipedia.
Wait, Roger's here? Why isn't he doing the quiz?
Did you use Meta?
He's too embarrassed.
Listen,
You've been frauded.
the
meta
Magic
thing.
School Bus is one of those shows that I think transcends barriers such as streaming or broadcast. Whether you're under the age of 12 or over the age of 50, I think it appeals to all groups.
Now, couldn't you have just said the show was called the Magic School Bus? Since
Yeah, but that's not the you had to name the
a
character
clue toward
on
the
there.
character. I know. I'm just saying. Like then, if you were like, "Oh, that's the show," it's a breadcrumb.
But it's a school bus driver. How many kids shows do you know have a school bus driver in it?
Like most
The
of them.
Simpsons. Yeah, that's all.
What was Miss Frizzle's first name?
I'm like,
looking at the
Otto.
Wikipedia article.
Mrs. Tom,
Otto
listen,
Fritz.
listen.
So yeah, what is it here?
And Wikipedia says Lily Tomlin.
Okay. All right.
So take
her
it up
first
with
name?
the Pedia.
Valerie Frizzle.
Valerie Frizzle. Okay.
But then they had to
Originally,
change it to
yes.
Hogan's Family after there was a dispute.
It became
After
Fiona
Valerie's
Felicity
family,
Frizzle.
it became the Hogan family. That was
Nice.
always very strange. It's a good
All
show.
right,
though.
this Canadian, American, and UK co-production follows the exploits of an organization run entirely by children that solves peculiar problems using math skills. What's the name of the show?
Is it the Bloodhound Gang?
Bloodhound Gang was just part of.
Oh, yeah. It was just a segment on 321 Contact, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've never seen this in my life.
No
The best segment on
clue.
321 Contact, but yeah.
Got nothing. At
Bloodhound Gang is a good guess, though. That would be the only
was the
one I would
kind of
even.
thing.
I
Yeah.
would even know.
Yeah.
Like,
The Mathlete Gang.
Canadian.
Math.
how about
Canadian, American, UK.
Yep.
The maths people.
The Mathletes.
follows the exploits of an organization run entirely by children,
Mm-hmm.
solving peculiar problems using math skills? I got
No
nothing.
clue.
No
I'm
clue.
going
I
to
got
the comments.
nothing.
I'm not going to say. I'm just going to go. No, they don't know either.
This would be the Odd Squad.
The
Odd Squad.
Like the Mod Squad.
Yes.
But,
That's
okay.
cute.
What's
Oh,
that
cute.
character in the back? The Gamorrean guard with one eye. Look at that.
Is that
This
Katy
was-
Perry
If
behind
this
the guard?
quiz was about the Gamorrean Guard, we would be a business. With that.
Yeah, the Gamorrean Guard falling right off the tongue.
And there's
What
like
about
a
the birthday
C-3PO
kitten back there?
ripoff
Come on.
there, too.
All right. Well, we're batting well.
Yeah,
Well, I got Miss Frizzle, so we're doing all
You got
Yeah.
half of it.
right. A little
You
bit.
said
Yes,
Miss Frizz.
I was closer than all of you.
That's true. That is
Knives
true.
came out.
I feel confident that you're still miles ahead of where I'm going to end up with this. list, so.
I can't believe, Molly, you'll probably do well. You never watched these shows when your kids are growing up?
No, my kid's 18.
Yeah, but
These
still.
these are like now shows, I think. Anyway, I don't know. Let's keep going.
anyway.
Let's see.
Popular edutainment series Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was
Heard
picked
of
up
it.
by PBS and turned into a kids game show. Who is the character that assigns the players or
gosh.
gumshoes on their next case?
I should know this.
I don't know this.
Like,
The
if you
only
said-
Carmen Sandiego I ever played was like on like a floppy disk.
Well,
Wait,
the
we've
answer-
got two people in the picture.
my
Which one is
computer.
the one we're supposed to
No,
try to
I
name?
think the
I keep
lady,
forgetting to look.
I think it's the lady.
The lady looks like the assigner.
The answer is on the poster. Is it the chief?
It is.
Olympic kid.
Oh, it's from the chief's office. Yeah. Okay, there. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll say
and
it's the
Sarah-
chief.
Yeah.
Sarah, you said it. You know, the game was actually assigned by the chief as well.
Yeah.
You received your assignments from the chief.
No,
And then
no, no.
Here's a follow-up question.
Right. I the whole like Carmen Sandiego being a TV series was way after my time.
Yeah, but
But if
here's
you
another
if the quiz
question. What was the
were,
name
what is her
of
last
the
name? I
group?
would have been like
Rockapella.
Rockapella. Very good. Yes.
Good.
I know that because Justin is a big fan of theirs.
Oh, really?
Apparently, I just
Rockapella?
didn't hang out with my kids.
Where? My kids used to watch that show.
And I will say,
Good
if
show.
anyone's a big fan of Where in the World, Carmen Sandiego, the game show, there were other country versions. So there's like a German, I think there's a Japanese, and you can find them on YouTube, and it's great. It's the same format, but the questions are the same, but it's kind of cool.
It's a great show. It would come on before or after Wishbone. Remember Wishbone?
Yes. This is right after Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. Yes.
I watched
it's
a lot
good.
of kids' TV in college.
I did too.
Sorry.
I did too. Yes. I had a lot of kids, so.
All right. Question number 4. In the Australian animated show Bluey, this character is Bluey's younger sister and joins the family in their hijinks and activities.
My niece is going to be very disappointed that I can't remember this.
Oh, man.
Bella.
This is too new for me.
This
I
again
know.
is in
I can
this
hear
is in
her
the category.
voice even.
Yeah.
This again
They
is in the
say her
category.
name right
I
at the
have
beginning.
heard of it.
Mom.
Yeah, right at the beginning. Yep.
Heard of it.
Bluey.
I think,
Is it like something that rhymes like
no.
Nope.
Shmooey.
Banana.
It's mom, dad,
Bluey
Bluey
and
Bella.
Otto.
It's Mom, Dad, Bingo, and Bluey.
Bingo! Oh,
Bingo.
This is too new.
bingo. I can hear every line from the Blueys my niece has
No.
watched where they say Bingo's
Yeah.
name. I can't believe I didn't think.
Yeah, my
For the
Bingo
record-
rhymes with dingo.
So I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, this is too
Yeah.
new for me.
very much set up for failure. Roger
Th-
Chang.
This is also not.
will not be
I will
forgotten.
fight. I will fight against anyone
It
who
is-
says this is specifically a children's show because that
It is
show
one of the most watched TV
is
shows.
Yeah.
written for
on the
adults. It just
planet.
happens to be in
That I do
children's
know.
language.
I at least know it's
so
a thing.
good.
It's
Because
very
we talked
definitely a
about it.
thing.
We talked
Yeah.
about it on It's a Thing a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo.
That's all I got though.
Except for the sister.
I'm defeated.
Except for the sister.
No, we've actually talked about the sister, and I've called her Bingo. That's why I'm so mad at
My,
myself.
my wife today is actually wearing the Bluey shirt that has the entire family on it. So
Yeah. I know
the
mom
British-
and
yeah, what are their names, Tom?
mom
Dad.
and dad.
Well, yeah.
Parents don't have
the-
names, Tom.
Yeah, doesn't matter. They also talk like this.
Not
Those
in
are-
Bluey,
those
they
teachers.
don't.
Yeah, not in Bluey.
Peanuts.
God, Len, have you never seen Bluey?
It's been on in my house. That's about it. So
The British children's stop motion series, The Clangers. This character provided the eponymous character's green soup harvested from volcanic soup wells on their planet. The American version has William Shatner provide the voice of the show's narrator.
Okay.
Oh my
What's the question?
The name of
Name the
any character
Name
from
Who
the
is the
Clangers.
character in green on the left?
Yeah.
Okay. The character that provided the green soup?
Soup.
It's a frog.
Correct.
Okay. Joe.
Otto.
Bingo.
you think
No idea.
Mom.
I'll give you one hint. There's a British pop band named after this character.
Oasis.
The Beatles.
Dunewood.
It is a British band with the name
One
Soup in
Direction.
their name. With the name Soup in their name.
Dragon Soup.
Oh, the soup dragon. Yeah, that's you're thinking of the soup dragons. Is it dragon soup?
Dragon soup?
Soup Dragon.
It's the Soup Dragon.
Okay, that's
Oh, yeah.
Dragon soup.
what is
You
happening.
never make it as a DJ, Tom.
Quiz is this?
Never.
Here
I
come the
never
dragons.
have, and I never will.
They're coming up next in the next 5 minutes. Stay with us.
Wait,
I don't
is that a
remember-
red
I
card?
don't remember what was the Soup Dragon's
my
like
red
big
flag.
hit.
I just want to stop.
Soup dragon saying, "I'm free," right?
I'm
No, that's Jesus
free to
Jones.
do what I
That's Jesus
want.
Jones. Okay.
Any
But-
old
but isn't that a
time.
cover?
Don't be
Jesus
afraid
Jones?
of your freedom.
Isn't that
Oh
a
no, you're
cover
right.
of, like,
Soup
a-
Dragons is I'm free. What is
Yeah.
Jesus Jones?
Jesus Jones
right
is,
here, right now.
Right here, right now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they were free in a different way.
Right.
Freedom from
Right.
history.
I want to be except off this quiz.
That's great. I played the soup dragons in college. That's why I know that.
Ooh,
And
Fred
Jesus
819 went for bowling for soup, but I don't think they're
Oh,
British.
no,
So
no, no. Bowling.
Bowling for Dragon Soup. This intrepid police duo fought crime as this segment on the children's television show Square One Television using mathematics and logic.
Oh my god.
Now, again, I would say
Wow.
it sounds like the Bloodhound
Is that
Gang,
J.E.J.
but
at the
wrong
bottom?
show.
Yeah, that's James Earl Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Still don't know, but
Well, that was fun, but we did identify an actor, so I think we win.
Look,
Yeah,
a
we win.
calculator.
Next.
This
We did
is this is the X-Files. This is yeah.
I actually
is
recognize the guy in the upper right too from this segment, but I can't remember what it was called.
He occasionally appear. He used to occasionally appear on Whose Line Is It Anyway, the U.S. version.
Right. Yes.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
that.
He's
funny.
I'm going to
He's
say this is the Krypton Factor, hosted by Dick Clark.
The Bloodhound Gang,
All grown up.
the Dragon Soup Gang.
This was
Cops.
Otto and Bingo.
Yeah.
Dun-dun,
There we go.
dun, MathNet.
Mathnet, right? Like Dragnet.
Yeah.
I actually
Rob
should have known
wins.
this.
Rob
Man,
wins.
This is. I mean,
Good job, Rob.
This is too hard.
Mathnet. Wow.
job. Nailed it.
Okay.
Rob nailed it. Ding, ding, ding.
all I knew was James Earl Jones. I didn't nail anything.
No, that's
Yeah,
called
but
winning
honestly,
today.
You had a really funny name. You win.
Although considered to be a clone of Disney's Bill Nye the Science Guy show, this particular character's math show actually aired a full year earlier.
Mr. Wizard?
Oh, that's Beekman. Beekman's World.
Beekman's
Yeah.
World.
Beekman's
The
World.
one I know, of
Oh,
course,
I should have been
Lynn
looking
gets
at the
first.
picture.
That's a great
course,
show.
Lynn. The one
Really,
I knew.
really good show.
Oh.
Len sniped it.
Sorry. That's a great show. Really, really good show.
For some reason, in many Reddit threads and along the internet, it's always seen as sort of a copycat show, but the show
But it
No,
came
it's-
out first.
came out
Very
first.
entertaining. Very entertaining. And smart.
They're all copies of Mr. Wizard, which
Oh,
is a
yeah.
copy of a
Yeah.
previous show. So
But I mean,
Just
the
keeps
actor
going back.
who played Beekman still does like come out in character every once.
Is
in a
his
while.
name Beekman?
The actor? No.
And question number 8 on the quiz that you won't know the answers to. Ben Affleck starred as this character on the PBS educational series Voyage of the Mimi, where he learns about ship navigation, the environment, biology of whales, sign language, and how to survive being shipwrecked on a remote island in New England.
Danger
So
Island.
the question is,
he
what
was the
was Ben
baby.
Affleck's character's name?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Billy.
Otto.
Tom.
Tommy.
Bingo.
I didn't know until today that Ben Affleck was a childhood actor.
Jacques.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Not
That's kind of
either.
cool, right?
I love the shipwrecked on a remote island in New England. How very Ben Affleck of them.
Right.
Yeah. He can still listen to the Red Sox games. He's just,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to get home. They'll find me eventually.
All the
Young
monkeys
Bruce
in the
Wayne.
trees had
I'm-
Boston
I'm
accents.
wicked stranded here.
And no,
this
no
was
clue.
Clement Tyler or C.T. Granville.
Of
Of course.
Oh. I knew that.
I got his rookie
I
card.
knew it. I just didn't want to say.
Yeah. Sarah didn't want to
like
embarrass us,
$30,
but she knew.
Nah, just trying to make you guys
that's
kind
kind.
of gas
That's
you up a
kind
little
of
bit.
you.
I
It's
spent
Friday.
one entire summer in
CT
junior
Granville,
high
duh.
watching all the episodes. It's 13
Roger would have done
episodes.
very well on this quiz.
Yes.
He just wants us to know.
He was a
Yeah,
Golden
true.
Glove shortstop in 1987.
For the Pawtucket Red Sox.
For the pot, yeah. Remember that? Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, fun quiz. I hope we all learned a little something today.
I did. Yeah.
I
Bingo.
learned 8 questions, in
Learned
fact.
a lot.
I learned that Ben Affleck was once stranded off the coast of New England.
There you go.
By Keaton.
Well, we also like to learn from all of you who write in your questions, thoughts, and comments every day. So let's check out the mailbag.
Ian wrote in that he was intrigued with Robb's second brain note-taking routine and asked if we could get a deep dive maybe on a weekend interview. And then MJ added that Microsoft's OneNote is his de facto note-taking application. MJ says it has some really nice layers to it, and more importantly, it's free.
Free 99 is always good,
Yeah, indeed it is.
except for when it isn't. Except for when it isn't.
You up for a deep dive into your note-taking routine?
Absolutely. You will not get me to shut up talking about my second brain.
All right.
man.
All right. It's a deal.
I'm all in on that one.
Let's schedule it.
Anon Jr. wrote in about sleepwalking because I had mentioned we were talking about just kind of the brain stuff, stuff that maybe is genetic or is very individual to you. And I had mentioned I have sleepwalked, whatever it is, in the past. He says, in high school, I apparently loaded up the van with all the soccer gear for a tournament during a sleepwalking incident. It was after that my stepfather installed a latch near the top of the door we locked every night.
Well, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of useful to have the van all
Yeah, that's what I was
over.
saying. If you
Yeah, it's like
sleepwalk,
you
sleep
did
clean.
it so nobody else had to.
Yeah.
Right. It was we were making the joke yesterday of like, wouldn't it be great if you're going to sleepwalk, why not clean the kitchen?
Yeah.
You're not going to remember it because you don't want to do it anyway during daylight hours.
My friend found herself in the middle of the kitchen, not only cleaning up, but handling knives, and was like, "Okay, no more Ambien for me. Like that's enough."
That's a true
that's
thing.
I have
That
a
is-
friend who had a lot of ambient stories that were very.
Is a medication primarily
And now it wants to
Settle
talk back
down
to you.
there,
specifically
Gemini.
for
Tell us more, Gemini.
Thanks, Gemini.
Did you mention sleepwalking? I have also sleptwalked.
Gemini Live really went out here like, I'm gonna make Rob look bad. Like it was just like,
It-
I'm not very good.
Threw Rob under the bus. I know.
Yeah. So Bede wrote in, thanks, Sarah, for reminding everyone that having compulsive behavior doesn't necessarily mean you have OCD. As someone with ADHD, I have to deal with countless people telling me they think I might have ADHD because they procrastinate without realizing that there's a neurological difference between ADHD and non-ADHD brains. It might seem like a small thing, but it really grinds my gears when I hear people make that kind of mistake.
Pretty recently, I became aware of the fact that, people will say like, yeah, like, oh, I have OCD. That's why I, arrange the knives a certain way. It's like, well, I mean, maybe you do, but, it's not like just a thing that you say because, you were late one day type thing. I think we use a lot of terms that are actual clinical terms. And if you have that clinical term, you're like, well, that's something not to throw around so much, or at least think about it before you do.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
So there's that.
We overdiagnose, but we also minimize how difficult the real conditions are when we're all just like, I also am like totally ADD all the time.
Right.
Well, the two go hand in hand. Like I don't know how many times people have told me I have a migraine. I had to drive into work and was stuck in traffic. And like in my world, if you have a migraine, you're not driving. Like you can't function. My migraines have me, on medication in my bed, quietly weeping myself, hopefully to death because the pain is so bad. So if you're driving with migraine, we are not the same.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about this on the show, not all that often, but we always try to to rein ourselves in, where it's like, are you saying this because it's just a thing that people say, or do you really mean it? And this is a great example of that. So yeah, thank you, Bede, for keeping us honest. Remember, you can send in all of your comments, whatever they may be, questions, ideas for future shows, which Ian had a really good one. Now, Tom and Rob are going to talk about Rob's second brain. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
All right, Len, time to check in on what you've been drawing for this week's tech news.
So I was actually very taken by the Facebook marketplace, or the fraud on Meta. Being an Instagram user and also just new to the marketplace as of a couple weeks ago, it's surprising to me how much fraud there is. Boy, I am really naive. But the image here it's called Too Good to Be True. If you're looking for puppies and they're 10 cents free or 50 cents, it may be too good to be true. So watch
if you want to buy Len's art, send it to my email, tomsart.
Wait a minute. This is fraud, Mr. Merritt. No, actually, if you do want this image, or if you want to commission me for something, you can go to my online store, lenperaltastore.com, where I took Tom's advice and I created an image of the Pope Leo the 14th there that you can purchase if you'd like. Also great, something great for dads and grads, things like that. I'm open for commissions, so keep that in mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Len, as always. And thank you, Molly Wood, for being with us today. Let folks know where they can keep up with your latest.
Thanks, everyone. Everybodyinthepool.com is the website where, look, we got a little refresh. I got a little facelift. I'm just so pleased.
Good.
I know. I'm so pleased with the new website. So that's where you can find all the latest episodes, subscribe to the newsletter, or contact me.
Our titles are some of the best parts of the show, and they're submitted by you at dtns.showbot.tv during the show. Top vote getter right now from Clinton Woodward in our YouTube chat. Apple likes epic pain. Works in so many levels.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Batfink suggested we call the show "No Squirrels Were Harmed in the Making of This Forest."
Oh, that honestly, Flash Forest should steal that.
Yeah, they really should.
Outstanding.
Clinton Woodward also with "Fighting Scams Doesn't Pay."
Like it.
If you're watching the video and you notice that half of us have hats and half don't, you'll understand GPEG84's DTNS, hats versus hair.
Or lack of hair.
We just had a big old scrimmage. Hats versus hair.
We forgot to divide up into teams for the quiz. Yeah. Today's quiz, We're Doomed from C-SPAN.
Very good. Very good.
Honestly.
What else we got here? Metascams shock nobody from the Reverb mic. Climate Tech is hot from GPEG84.
Ouch.
Shooting seeds from the air. Shoot seeds from the sky. Sarah, what do we want to go with?
Well, shoot. What do we want to go with? I as much as I like Apple likes Epic Pain from Clinton, because that's just good. I kind of like Batfink's "No Squirrels Were Harmed in the Making of This Forest."
Yeah,
that's not too long.
Great.
That's funny. That's a fun title.
It's a funny one.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Good work, Batfink 2001. Fantastic. And also thanks to everybody who supports us in all the different ways, watching us on LinkedIn and YouTube, supporting us on Twitch. PC Miles, he gave us 50 bits on Twitch. That puts a little money in our pocket. Morbius65 resubscribed to Tier 1 for 17 months. That puts a lot of money in the pocket.
Wow.
Awesome.
Zoe brings bacon with some bits. Minion Monkey 5150 at Tier 1 for the 16th month. Wrote woohoo for Daily Tech News Show on a Friday. Oh, yeah, super duper Rickroll for Tom and Molly. Why did we get Rickrolled?
Why?
Yeah. Theater
That's a
Monkey
good
resubscribed with Prime for the 68th month. And thank you, Ronnie Bailey, for the follow. Nice. Now, before we go, every Friday, we generally put up a new top 5 short on our YouTube channel. And this week, I'm counting down my top 5 favorite TI-99 4A game cartridges. You can catch it at Daily Tech News Show on TikTok and Instagram and youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show.
And just a reminder that we are live. If you're watching live, you already know this, but we're live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is 2000 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Love to have you live if you can join us. And of course, we're always with you after the fact if you can't. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Back on Monday with Justin Robert Young joining us. Talk to you then.
This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show Live were created by the following people. Producer and host Sarah Lane. Host Tom Merritt. Host Robb Dunewood. Producer Roger Chang. Video producer Joe Kuntz. Producer at large Anthony Lemos. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods: Beatmaster W. Scottus 1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, aka Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Luters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. Contributors for this week's shows include Justin Robert Young, Scott Johnson, Molly Wood, and thanks to all our patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.